My name is Eitan Chatayat and welcome to I'm That podcast, where I get to talk to some pretty incredible people. Some are friends and colleagues, some are clients, and some are people I haven't even met yet. On I'm That, we'll hear from them about who they are, what they do and why, stuff they love or hate, mistakes they've made, victories they've had. They're all known for something, but by the time we're through, the hope is they'll have revealed some things we didn't know about them. Our talk may be deep, profound, funny, who knows really. One thing for sure, it'll be interesting and honest. So if you're up for that, thank you for joining me on I'm That, and here we go. Karen Alpert is the ridiculously self-deprecating writer of the blog, Baby Sideburns. She has 500,000 followers on social media where she entertains parents and even a few non-parents every day. If you're tired of seeing moms who post pictures of their perfect, smiling, well-behaved kiddos on social media, Baby Sideburns shows the other side of parenting. The messy, scary, painful, challenging, unpredictable side. In other words, reality. In 2013, Karen wrote and self-published her first book, I Heart My Little A-Holes, which made it to the New York Times bestseller list and the top 100 on Amazon the first week it was out. It was then bought and republished by HarperCollins. In 2016, HarperCollins published her second book, I Want My Epidural Back, which also climbed quickly to the top 100 on Amazon. What I've discovered in the process of getting to know you through your work and your community, which I want to talk about as well, is unbelievable. So I'm really excited to talk to you. And I'd like to just start off our conversation with something that I always ask my guests, which is just for you to simply complete the sentence, if you don't mind. I'm that.
I am that mom who really tells it like it is. I don't sugarcoat stuff. I'm that author who self-published her first book because she was too lazy to find an agent. And I worked my butt off to sell that book, and it actually did really well, surprisingly. I'm that influencer whose page doesn't look crazy, perfect. It doesn't look gorgeous because I'm telling life like it really is. I'm that mom who, admits that I drink Hershey syrup straight from the container. And when I make my kids chicken nuggets, I make extra ones because I know I'm going to steal a bunch. I was wearing comfy clothes before the pandemic, and I was happy to share that online. So I guess I'm that person that's, kind of tells it like it really is. And I just don't make things look glossy and perfect.
I was so struck in because I've read your book and I've been following you on your Facebook page, which has like 300,000 followers, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And as it's like you said, as you scroll down, there's no hype there. There's no perfection. It's the opposite. It's kind of like a goofy mess, which is this thing called life. And how is that to be so open, so revealing, so transparent, and really transparent? It's not like a shtick.
No, this is who I am. I put it all out there. In fact, I feel like it's funny because you were introduced to the blog recently. If you go back, it started 11 years ago. If you go back to the very beginning, I was even more transparent. And I shared absolutely everything, whether it was about myself, my marriage, my kids. But now as the kids have gotten a little bit older, I'm more... do you keep hearing that bell? I'm sorry.
I think we need to keep that sound in because
it is okay.
We'll keep it in. Yeah, of course.
That is my dog ringing the bell to go outside because he has to go to the bathroom. But no, he just wants to hang out there. But we have people in the backyard, so I'm not letting him out. So there's my hot mess of a life. So when I started the blog, Zoe was just a baby. I didn't have Holden yet, and there weren't really secrets. Like as a baby, she wasn't doing anything that every other baby wasn't doing. There were things like she was in a harness that went like from her top to her bottom just because her hips were off. But for the most part, everything she was doing was exactly the same as other kids. So I didn't feel like I was, revealing her privacy or betraying her privacy online so much. Now I'm a lot more careful with the stuff I share about the kids because I know that, they have a life and some of their friends read the blog now, and I have to be aware of that.
Has that been something that has come up a lot? Like you're sharing so much online, your kids are too young to really kind of like, maybe now they understand a little bit more, but from a younger age. I remember when I would post things online, with even pictures of my kids on Facebook, I would get, sometimes like my two boys, they're in swim shorts, no shirts on. How can you do that? And you're doing a little bit more than that, with just like the type of stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, luckily I've always been aware a little bit. Like there were things I never shared. I never shared the kids naked when they were little. I just felt like that was gonna come back and bite me in the butt. So, but now, like I am more careful. I mean, Zoe's very comfortable with being on the blog. She likes it, and Holden less so. So I'm a little more aware of that and cautious of that. So I take their feelings into consideration, and they know, like, they've grown up like this. So it's not a secret to them. People are like, what are they going to find out? What are they going to say when they find out one day? And I'm like, no. Like, I've been doing this for 11 years. Like they've known, ever since they could be aware of it, they've known about it. But it's also allowed them to have their mom at home all the time. I am like, this is my job now. And it has given them a lot of opportunities in life. And we've, whether it's a trip to go somewhere because I get that for the blog, or whether it's the money that it takes to raise children and to be at home with them.
What does your husband do?
He's a broker. He does his own business, so he's at home too. And
so how's that? Because I mean, I work with my wife. We have a branding agency, and we work together. And through COVID, we were in the same house, and that was pretty good. We survived. How is it working? Both of you being independent, both of you being at home.
We've been doing it for a very long time. We both kind of consciously quit our careers when we had our first kid. We were very much career people. I was in advertising and he was working for a company. We decided, he got laid off. We were in Boston. He got laid off right when I was pregnant. I'm pregnant, and we decided, you know what? Let's just not look for something until after maternity leave. We're just going to enjoy this moment in our lives. And it was kind of scary. And while I was pregnant, he started saying, well, I think I want to start my own company. And I remember saying, like, I'm not sure that's a great idea when we're, about to have children. But we decided it was a good idea that we would both be at home and really be involved in our kids' lives, like, a lot.
That leads me to one of the questions that I have here, which is, people follow you there. I mean, a community of hundreds of thousands of people, and you're a writer, and you wrote books, but it doesn't just happen. I mean, or does it? Was there a fork in the road when you reached this point and you said, okay, I want to be a writer. I want to write a book. Was this always the plan? Did it come to you in the middle of the night? I'm going to post stuff online. How did Karen Alpert come into her own?
Yeah. I mean, I was in advertising, and I was a writer in advertising. And I mean, I've been wanted to be a writer since I was, in the second grade when I wrote my first little stupid poem. But I was in advertising, and I couldn't be the only person without a blog. I felt like every mom I knew was starting a blog, and I'm like, oh, I'll start one. And I don't even think I knew what I was doing. I don't think I'd even read blogs before. So I went to WordPress and I started my little blog, and I called it Mommyhood Unplugged. And it was fun. I mean, it was the first story was about when Zoe pooped her brains out at the library one day, and I forgot the diaper bag. And it was awful. And I had to
and then that set you up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was the first one. And then within a couple months, I remember I had 170 followers on Facebook. And I thought that was fabulous. And it was fabulous. 170 people are reading my stuff. I was really excited. And then I wrote a post called What Not to Effing Buy My Kids This Holiday. And it was a very, very honest letter to the grandparents. Please do not buy this stuff for my kids. And I was sitting at gymnastics class watching my daughter do her little gymnastics. And I was watching the blog, and I started to see the numbers go up. And I'm still getting chills, remembering that day. I started to think, oh my gosh, 60,000 people have seen this now. It was shocking. And all I was picturing was Texas Stadium has 60,000 people. So I was picturing what that crowd looked like. And at first I thought it was a computer glitch. I thought something was wrong. And then I went and looked, and I noticed that there were thousands of comments coming in. So I'm like, oh, that's not a computer glitch. There's real people behind those comments. And that was really exciting. So I knew, I don't know how I knew it, but I knew in my heart that I had to feed the beast. So I went to Facebook, and I started posting on that Facebook group that had 170 people. I started posting 2 or 3 times a day at least, and really talking to people. I was sitting at a table with them drinking coffee. I was their friend. After I think 1 or 2 weeks, I had 20,000 people.
Forgive me for asking, but was that a strategic move to just be yourself? Or was that just the only way that you could have done it?
Honestly, it was the only way I could have done it. I didn't, like I said, I really hadn't read blogs before. I didn't know that people were being all glossy and making their lives look perfect. It really wasn't something I was thinking about. I wasn't on Instagram at all yet. I wasn't even close to being on Instagram yet. Which is where I think that perfection has become such a huge problem. So I don't think that I really was thinking about that yet. As soon as I realized, like, people started commenting and saying, thank you for being so real, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, look what I'm doing. This is actually a really big thing. And so then it became more strategic. I don't know if I would never call it strategic, because that was my life. Like, I was just showing what reality.
Well, we know, I mean, I think we also know, we come from the world of advertising and branding, and the best brands are the ones that are true, really true, authentic and true. And that's what's beautiful about what you've created is, yes, you do have a brand. It is a brand. It's who you are, but it really is absolutely 100% who you are. Something that you said that was really interesting, Karen, which I've also wanted to ask you, is this notion of, so for example, I've made a couple of films that have gone viral, like millions of views. And what you expressed you saw the numbers climbing. There's a rush, there's an adrenaline rush. But now, you have your followers, you have a massive community. I mean, when you write something, sometimes you get like, on average, I've seen 7, 8, 9,000 reactions, and probably quite a few more that I didn't see that were probably higher. Is that still something that not the numbers, the fact that you have managed to create a real community around you, how does that feel? Because, and as I'm reading some of these posts by these people who are responding to you, and they're having these very, very real engagements with hundreds of comments, like massive conversations about really important stuff and meaningful stuff. How does that feel for you to this, right now? Because the novelty's worn off, hasn't it?
Yeah, the novelty's worn off. I mean, for sure, sometimes it feels like a chore a little bit. Although for the most part, like, I think of myself as just one member of that community. Like, I write a post. I remember, like, back in the beginning when I started writing about breastfeeding being so hard and painful, and I would put up a post and think, is anyone else going to feel this way? Is anyone else going to agree with me? Like, is this post just going to fall flat? And it seemed like every time I bared my soul, that I got like tons of engagement, all of these people saying they felt exactly the same way. So by saying what's in my head, what I'm realizing is that there's a million other moms out there who have the exact same thing going on in their head. And so it has been so helpful to me to know that I'm not alone in like whatever I'm feeling, whether it's pain or happiness, or like yesterday I found out that my daughter's gonna be taller than me in a few months. Oh, really? Which is painful. So like, and as soon as I put that up, everyone was like, oh my God, it's the worst. Like, how do you yell at your kid when they're looking down on you?
That's amazing that you have that, and that you feel like you're one of them.
I am one of them. I don't feel like I am. Like, I'm good at expressing it. I'm good at writing it, but I am like exactly the same. Like, I am right now, I'm wearing elastic waistband pants. Like, I'm not like, when people say to me, I can't believe you wrote me back, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I feel like an asshole when I don't write somebody back. Like,
so I have that issue. I have a bit of a following, not like yours, but and people write to me and I write back. I don't think there's anyone I've never written back to, but you have 300,000 people. I mean, how does that?
It's a lot of writing back.
You do it.
I do it. I mean, if I don't, sometimes like on Instagram, I get so many messages that I just have to like double tap and heart things a lot.
Sure.
But I read every message. And
how many people do you have on Instagram?
112,000, I think.
And on Facebook, it's around 3. So you have.
I'm about 500,000 altogether, but I'm sure there's tons of overlap.
Have you developed relationships off digital, like in the real world? Have you met some of the
I have no friends. I'm just kidding.
Oh, come on.
I have real life friends. Have I made, one of my best friends here was originally a fan. And when we first met, she was fangirling hard. But we hit it off really well and we became really great friends. And now she doesn't admire me like that anymore.
He knows you now.
Now she knows the real me. Scary. But yeah, I mean, it's odd. Like, we go to Disney World and we get recognized a lot.
Oh, you do? Oh yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, you post a lot of pictures and stuff, of course.
We post a lot. Yeah. People are expecting, especially once I start posting and they know I'm there, then it really, multiplies. But like, we went on a Disney cruise many years ago and I remember being approached a lot, which is, it's fine for me. I'm okay with it. I have a little more trouble with the kids.
Sure.
It's a little hard when somebody comes up and they're like, "Hey, Zoe," and you're like, how do you know my kid's name?
How do you protect them from this weird, surreal kind of life that you live, which is theirs? But when it's okay, you're in the intimacy of your own home and you're posting things and pictures and people are writing to you, but it's intimate. It's very intimate. And I know that because I have, I know what that's like. But then you get out there, and I've been recognized in the street.
Yeah. I mean, if I had known what it was going to turn into 11 years ago, I'm not sure I would have done it.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, I mean, do I love, as a writer, to have this many people buying your books and reading your posts every day and liking things and commenting on things, like that is wonderful. Like I love that as a writer. It's like your dream to have an audience that like listens to you and appreciates your writing. But as a mother, I think I would have kept the kids. I would have given the kids aliases. I wouldn't have given them their real names. Things like that. You Google my daughter now and like a million posts come up with her. So it's nothing bad that's going to hurt her, when applying to college or things like that. But it's definitely interesting.
You used the word feed the beast. And to me, that means there's kind of like, and I felt this before sometimes also on social, it's like you create something and then you kind of like have to feed it. And there's sometimes a feeling of being trapped. Do you ever feel that way? Like trapped, a little trapped in it?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like I post every single day. I usually post once or at least twice. I usually post twice a day, although I've let up a little bit in the past year. It's a burden for sure. I mean, it's like if it's 6:00 at night and I don't know what I'm posting that day, I feel like angst and I have to figure it out. And that's hard. It's hard to come up with things. But then there's other days that like there's too many ideas flowing out of you and you don't know what to post. Like this morning, I kind of got on my computer. I didn't know what I was going to post. And I was looking for a picture of Zoe eating Cheerios for General Mills. I was looking for them. And I all of a sudden found a picture of my grandma who passed away 2 years ago. And baby Zoe was sitting in her lap. And like all of a sudden I knew exactly what I was going to post that day. So it's kind of like when you least expect it, you have a lot of ideas. And then when you're really working hard for it, you have none. So I have to go about living about life and hope that some post comes into my head.
Do you ever just like, no, not today?
Nope. I missed one day. I don't know, probably in 2020, I think it was, or 2019. I can't remember. I missed one day. It was Saturday night. We were out and it was like 10:30. It was 2019 because I remember we were at a karaoke bar and it was like 10:30 and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't post anything today. And I had this like I got really scared and but nothing happened. I mean, I went on Sunday, I put my post up and like everything was fine. So I don't know. I had this fear that Facebook was going to ding me for like missing it or something. Like, I feel like Facebook's gotten really, really awful to a lot of pages and they don't share things anymore. It's really hard, like you're shaking your head, like, it's really bad.
It's really bad.
For some reason, my page is still doing great. And I credit it to my community. They're so engaged and they're so wonderful. Mm-hmm. They're wonderful. Yes. So, but I always have this fear like, is the only reason Facebook's doing this because I've been posting so consistently for the past 11 years? I don't know.
I think what you said is right. It's like you have a lot of engagement. It's not just followers, passive followers that like. I mean, for anyone who is listening right now, just go to Baby Sideburns and people should take a look at the amount of engagement, the amount of writing, of conversation, of dialogue, of debate, of arguing, of solidarity. I've never really experienced. In social media, there's the political thing, always, which actually was interesting because you just yesterday posted, I think it was yesterday, or was it a few days ago,
about the vaccine,
about your daughter, about the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to read out something that you wrote. This is what you wrote. I lost hundreds of followers yesterday over a decision I made about my child, uppercase, my child. People called it child abuse. People called it gross. People were assholes. But I'd like to say thank you to the 99% of you who are respectful. That's the beauty of parenting. Your child, your decision, whether it's about vaccines, discipline, food, clothing, education, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this was about vaccinations. And I actually commend you on posting about this incredibly controversial subject. But what really fascinated me was the dialogue you created. Like, I saw just one comment out of the so many comments that were there, that one comment that someone made had 150 different, not reactions, but responses, like a subthread. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been happening a lot lately. I don't know if that's something that Facebook's doing with their algorithm, or if that's just the topic is creating a lot of conversation. They've done something weird to me that I'm not allowed to comment twice on someone's comment. I don't understand it because I love having conversations like back and forth with people, like pleasant conversations. When it gets hostile, I I either hide it or I just hide it for myself.
So you knew with this topic, with this post, there was going to be. Did you think?
You want to know? I'm an idiot. I didn't think about that.
Come on.
I should have. No, I should have.
You're not an idiot, and that's for sure. You know what you're doing. You know exactly what you're doing. But like, so you what's wrong with having done that? I mean, it is controversial.
Nothing. I mean, if it's funny, I was looking at my top posts this morning because we had to change something on my website, and one of my top posts is to parents who are against vaccinating. It was a very old post. I mean, Holden looks like he's 3 or 4 in the post. And that was one of my biggest posts ever. And it was basically slamming anyone who doesn't vaccinate their kids. So back then I absolutely knew that it was going to be controversial. It really didn't occur to me. This is really, I'm like, it's not that I'm oblivious. It's like, I'm not thinking about these things because I'm going about my life. And I'm not being strategic about it. Because if I was strategic about it, I wouldn't put that post up. Like, I'm going to lose followers. I know it. But my life was that Zoe was getting vaccinated. And I guess I just assumed, which is a stupid assumption, but I assumed that all parents would want to get their kids vaccinated against this virus. That's a dumb assumption. Like, I realize that now. Luckily I only lost a couple hundred, and I say luckily not because I care about those couple hundred that left. It's more because that not that many parents are against it. At least on my page. I'm sure I think my page is a very liberal audience just because of the stuff I've talked about over the years.
Yeah, because I think that one subthread that I brought up, that was someone who respectfully, they were respectful and they disagreed. Okay. And then that person, I think they got slaughtered,
Yes. Yeah. My audience can get pretty defensive.
You say that you're not strategic, but I don't buy it. I think that you are strategic in the sense that you are absolutely you. And that is not the strategy. It's the, and you are, I mean,
it's the brand.
Yeah, it's the brand. Now, what's with those cakes? Is that something new? Because as I scroll, because there's so much content, but I see these videos of you making cakes, and I'm addicted to them. Well, what's that all about?
So, Eitan, that was funny. I was the worst. I'm not good in the kitchen, like not at all. And I've always had a dream of like decorating cakes, which is so random for me. I'm a creative person. Like, I know. But I'm creative, like, and I like to paint, I like colors, and I just always had this dream to decorate cakes. And when the pandemic hit and I was stuck at home a lot, I was like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to do this. and I announced it on Facebook. I'm like, and people saw me, I think like 4 years ago, I tried to make fondant icing, and I tried to make a Peppa Pig cake, and I was drinking sangria at the time. It was all like on live. And so I'm getting It was abysmal. It looked like Peppa Pig, like going to hell. Like she was melting.
Peppa Pig.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. I was like seeing two Peppa Pigs, like Peppa. And so like people know that I can't bake worth shit. Like I'm terrible. And I had this dream. So I started watching videos, and I started to realize everything I need, like I don't need to go to baking school. Like everything I need is on YouTube and Instagram. And I was watching. And so I think in July or August, I announced like, I'm going to start learning to decorate cakes, and you guys are going to see the process of this. And so, and you can see like in the beginning, I was not good. Like I made my friend cupcakes in July, and they're horrible. But now
I'm saying that now you're good. Now you're good.
I'm better.
I saw you as that thing turns, and you're trying to straighten out the icing, and it's hard stuff.
Yes, it's so hard.
My wife is she's incredible in she's a good cook, but like baking, she's amazing. And she does she finds these things, she whips these things up, she does it really quickly. And she Sheila, people think that, we've got Natty, I'm a branding agency, I've done viral stuff, I'm the creative one in the house. I actually think that she's much more creative than me, but it's really nice to watch because it looks like you're having fun, and you seem to be like a real goofball as well.
Yeah,
I think
I'm a total goofball. Yeah.
and just fucking up and okay, that cake didn't work out, and you're very honest about it. Now you swear a lot. What's that? You swear a lot.
I swear a lot in my writing. I swear less.
The headlines of your books have the word.
Yes.
Nice.
They're a-holes.
Yeah.
I left the S's out. I swear in real life, but not nearly as much as I swear in my writing. And the reason, this is interesting. This is a strategic thing that I did. When I first put up that viral post, what not to effing buy my kids this holiday, it had more swear words in it than usual. And everybody was like, oh, thank God you're swearing. Like, this is the way I talk in real life. And I was like, okay, dial up the swear words. And I've, over the years, I found like a happy medium. Like if you look at my first book, I Heart My Little A-Holes, it has a lot more swearing in it.
Should I have said a-holes? I've been calling it assholes.
I don't care. I couldn't care less. Kids are both.
What happened? So I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So like I have less swear words in the third book than in the first book. And I think that's partly because that's what's going on in my head. Like the kids get better as they get older, and there are less swear words in my life. So
how old are they now?
Zoe just turned 12 this week and Holden is 9.
Do you remember when you were 12, 9, 10, 11, what it was like to be a kid and what it was like with your parents? Like, do you still think about that?
I mean, my parents are divorced now, so so it was not the best relationship. They didn't have a great relationship.
Okay.
And versus I didn't meet my husband until I was 34. And I feel like my mom and I actually spoke about this the other day. She said she was being really nice and telling me what a good mother I am. And she said, I wish that I was as good as you were. And I, of course, I disagreed with her, but I also said to her, think about this, Mom, you were 25 when you had me. I was 30, 35 or 36 when I had Zoe. I'm like, that is a huge difference. I mean, those 10 years, the amount of wisdom that I got over those 10 years. And I just feel like that equipped me to raise children. I don't want to say in a better way, but I just knew a lot more.
I also think like we live in that generation where we're exposed to a lot more. And I mean, look at, for example, what you're doing for your community. And I do think it's for your community because you created it and you enable this dialogue. People have resources now that they didn't have back then. They can talk about it. They can, I can tell you as a father when, of course, today when something happens, the first thing you do is you go and you Google and people are more open. They talk about their problems more and you didn't, people didn't have that back in the day.
Yeah, no, I mean, you think about like the fact when I said breastfeeding was painful, like back in the day, you just sat there in pain by yourself. And like, you couldn't talk to somebody at 3 a.m. when you were going through the pain. Now you can. Like miscarriages, all of a sudden, everyone's talking about miscarriages and they're open about it. And I'm sure it helps people so much to know that other people are going through the exact same thing.
So we've talked obviously about like your community, and your community is on, it's on a digital platform, it's social media. So how do you see your role do you have like a vision, or is this, or maybe like what role do you want to play in this social media world that we live in? Is there an objective here? Or
Yeah, there wasn't in the beginning, but now like this third book, there was a vision with it for sure. I was watching like, I truly believe that 98% of the world is good. And that a few bad apples are messing things up for a lot of people. And I honestly feel like how people turn out starts in the home. And I felt like I needed to write something that I felt like that all this 98% of the people are trying to create children that are kind, and adults and grow their children into adults who are kind and who think about other people's feelings and who are inclusive and, not exclusive, and who are anti-racist. And so that's what this book was. I mean, this book I want to make the world a better place. And I don't think this is an advice book per se, but I hope that this book can unify a lot of people who are trying to do that.
Which
So
is interesting because no, it makes sense. It's just I'm on the page where you're talking about Holden, talking about how dogs can lick their penises. That's what I'm on right now. So I want to ask you, because it's a very funny book, but there are lots of lessons in the book, of course, and that's just like out of context right now. It's a bit funny, but like it is a very uplifting book in that you are trying to get a message across. What are some of your favorite chapters and why?
I mean, my favorite chapter of all has got to be actually the last section of the book. It's about kind of where we go from here, and that our kids are. It's called The Hardest Thing About Parenting. And the hardest thing about parenting is not getting that baby out of your body. Like you think when you're about to have a baby, you think that that's going to be the hardest thing, is getting that 8-pound bowling ball out of you. But the truth is, the hardest thing about parenting is realizing that they're going to grow up and leave you. And they are. That is, my mom always said it. She was right. Our job as mother birds is to prepare our babies to leave the nest. And that is a really, really hard realization for any parent to understand. And I hope that when my kids leave the nest, they'll still come back a lot. But ultimately, I'm trying to make them self-sufficient human beings so they can go out into the world and survive and be kind and happy adults. So that last section is really about that. I have a lot of stuff about honesty to girls. I feel like we are always saying like, rah, rah, girls are awesome, this and that. And like, then you send your kid into the world and they realize that's not true. Like it kind of sucks to be a girl sometimes.
Well, yeah, I think one of the chapters is 12 things you should try to teach your daughter before she's a woman, which we connected over She's That Woman, which is the film that I made with Dana Satterwhite. That part struck me, a very important part of your book.
It's being honest with them. I mean, my daughter was in the car yesterday and she was trying to, all the girls at school were putting their bangs inside their hoodies and making themselves look like boys. And they were going around calling each other like bruh and like acting like they were boys. And I actually brought up the old Nike ad, have you ever wanted to be a boy? And I said, you were not the first girl to want to be a boy. I said, this has been like the age old thing. And she was like, why would a girl want to be a boy? Like she wasn't in touch with that feeling. And I'm like, because it's easier. And she was like, you're right. It is easier to be a boy. And it was like this, it was an awful realization. But the last chapter does that. It's also talking a lot about how I'm raising my son to be a better man. And like that saying, boys will be boys. Like I hate that saying more than anything. I just can't stand that saying because boys will be boys should be like a boy holding a door open for somebody, for the next person coming through, whether it's a guy or a girl, they should be holding the door open for them. And then also there's a chapter in there about, there was a moment when we were in Florida and I was wearing a bathing suit and he looked at me and he said, your legs are fat, your thighs are fat. And I was, while that like cut me right to the heart, because he's right. It hurt for sure. I mean, it always hurts when your kids say something like that. But what it did do was it gave me this amazing opportunity to explain to him why you can't say little things like that in front of girls. And I went back to a moment that I had I think it was either in middle school at some point, and the boys on the bus, they were not trying to be cruel in any way, but they designed their perfect girl. And they took body parts from everybody in our grade and they designed their perfect girl. So they would be like, okay, we're going to take Sarah's nose and we're going to take Lisa's ears and we're going to take Julie's legs. But in the process, they were saying, should we use Julie's legs or should we use, Angela's legs? And it was this horrible moment because every girl sitting on that bus in that area heard them critiquing every one of our body parts. And it was scarring. I mean, I remember this to this day. And to this day, I'm like, thank God they picked something of mine because it would have been, I'm sure, much more scarring if they hadn't picked something of mine. So I'm trying to teach Holden these things that hopefully if he's that boy sitting on the bus, hopefully either he won't join in or he's enough of a leader that he might even say like, guys, this is not nice, and stop it from happening. Who knows? I mean, I'm just doing the best job I can. And I know we can't expect everything from our kids as they're growing up. But if we all do our part, like maybe we will create a better world and maybe there won't be as many girls sitting in a situation like that.
Well, Yeah, I go back and forth about that in my head about the parenting, because one of the things that I really love in your book is that little chart that you have. You created a little graph, which was the parents who don't, the parent who doesn't,
Yes.
and then the parent who does. And what are they doing? They're the parent that keeps steering them back to the right path. Now the parent who doesn't, it's easy. They don't, they're not the pain in the ass. They're not constantly on their kid's case for doing the quote unquote the right thing.
Mhm.
And it's hard. It's hard to raise kids well because it's a lot of work. And the question that I have for you is, I think you're doing a terrific job, by the way, from again, from what I read and from what I'm hearing from you. Um, but there are such lazy fucking parents out there, and I see them all the time. Here's the phone, here's the iPad, here's, no, you're gonna get a punishment, and then when it comes to it, they don't get them the punishment for doing what they did, because they don't want to. They don't want to deal with it. And where are we going? Where is this generation going? Do you hear about millennials and they have it easy? And I'm not knocking millennials. I'm just saying that that's what people say.
Mhm.
Um, it's I wish people were tougher.
I mean,
I'm tough. I'm tough with my kids.
so we're pretty strict parents ourselves. We have very strict time limits on screens. We, for the most part, I don't know, for the mostly we're strict. With bedtimes, we're pretty strict. Just homework, we're strict. So I guess that's the way we're doing it. I do respect people that are doing it other ways. I don't want to be judgmental. I think that I see parents doing it the other ways and their kids are turning out perfectly wonderful too.
Mhm.
So I don't want to knock other people that aren't as strict, but I do agree with you that there are plenty of parents out there who are taking the easy route. And then, back to that chart that you're talking about, where if you don't correct your child enough, like you get so far away from where they should be that you end up having to get tons of therapy for it, or you end up having a kid that gets kicked out of school, or and the problems get bigger and bigger and bigger. So my kids are still relatively young. I think 12 and 9 is still relatively young. I'll be curious to see what happens to some of these kids as we get older. But I agree with you. I think it's super important to make your kid do chores in the house, to earn the money that they get. I think those things are really important.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite sayings. Also, like when I was in advertising, it's like you think about, it's the little things. It's the little things that make, little by little, a little gets to be a lot.
Mhm.
And I really do believe that. And I see parents skimping and many times taking the easy way out because it's hard. It's hard. You got work. No sleep. You got pressure. You got the kids.
It's easier just to turn the screen on. I have a chapter about that. Like, you can literally, your kid's watching TV at home, you tell them it's time to go to the grocery store. Don't worry, we'll watch the screen on the way there. As soon as you get to the grocery store, they're watching your phone. You get in line. It's like there's like never a break from the screen. And this as a creative person, the time that we're creative tends to be when we don't have a screen in front of our face, and we're bored and we have nothing to do. And
So that's the ongoing conversation that I have with both of my children, which is, we're very strict with screen time. A lot of their kids are walking around with phones, and there's none of that. And there's no video game, there's no Xbox. Their kids have Xbox already, and we say, no, you can do something else. What can I do? You can draw, you can read, you can play, you can build something, you can do nothing. But I don't want to do nothing. Well, and it's just like you can be bored, and out of boredom comes amazing things. Um, it's hard for little kids to understand that when they are surrounded by other kids whose, parents are giving them these distractions. And I'm sorry, I am judgmental. I really don't like it. I really don't like it. I think it's very detrimental to as a whole. And you see it in the way that kids communicate with each other. I feel it. I feel it. So
that's the worst. I mean, when I walk in, I went to a voting thing a while ago, and there were a bunch of volunteer high schoolers there, and all of them were sitting on the bleachers, and every single one of them had their face in their phone. And I was thinking about when I was a kid, that didn't exist. So like, we would have been meeting each other, we would have been making friends, and you would have been socializing, versus what they were doing was not, I mean, like nothing. They're going to walk away without an experience.
Well, I've had arguments with people that I know, like football is a great example. Soccer. Sorry, you guys get soccer, but like, so my kid's been in football for around 4 years, and I remember going to the football games, and the same thing. All of the fathers were there, all on their phones, and I refuse. I absolutely refuse. And sometimes you want it. It's like crack. It's in your pocket. You just want to take it out. So I'll check one message. I'll email. I'll check the weather or something. And I still really try, because we need to look at our kids. I think we need to give them us,
Yeah, for sure. My daughter, the other day, my husband took her to ice skating, and she looked up in the bleachers, and he had a lot of work stuff going on, so he was on his phone. She got so upset with him afterwards. She's like, you never come to skating with me, and now you were looking at your phone. And he was trying to explain to her that, like, even though he was on his phone, he was still watching her. But like, she didn't see it that way. And I've seen that happen a lot. We do football too, soccer.
We can call it soccer.
Yeah. 2 years ago, I was at a game, and the other team, all the dads, as soon as their team started to lose, all the dads jumped on their phones.
Oh,
and
no.
I wanted to go over there and like slap. I was so upset. Because it was like, clearly they were so invested until their kids started to lose. It was terrible.
Man, that sucks. That's awful.
Yeah. And that stuff's happening everywhere. I mean, I wrote a whole chapter in my book about sports and the parents. And it's funny, I thought I was going to write a whole chapter about kids and sports, but really what I ended up writing was a whole chapter about parents and sports, and like how many parents on the sidelines I just want to go over to and just beat them silly, because
so you are judgmental. You're a little judgmental.
Yeah, you're right. I am. Yeah.
I have no shame in it. I'm just like, I have these arguments with friends all the time. Like, just no, there is a right and there is wrong. There's some things which I'm like, that is wrong.
There are some things. Yes, there are some things I'm judgmental of. I truly feel like the reason your kids are in sports is probably not to go to the Olympics. Like for me, I know my kids are not going to the Olympics. So the reason they're in sports is for fun, to gain self-confidence, to, learn teammanship, to learn how to lose. That's probably the biggest thing of all, is to learn how to lose. So like when my kid loses a game, don't get me wrong, I feel bad, but I'm also like, they got more out of that than when they won the game.
Sure. No,
so yes, I am judgmental of parents who are clearly doing the wrong thing. Like I think 99% of the people would look at those parents on the sidelines and know they did the wrong thing.
And is that like in many ways what this book is about?
There is an entire section on that. And there's like a whole quiz in there about how to tell if you're a douchebag on the sidelines. Because there are some parents that are just like, they're yelling at their kids all the time and they're not encouraging them. And we learned the lesson, I guess, the hard way. We were cheering for Holden a lot in soccer, and but my husband and I both played soccer. So we were probably yelling the wrong thing. We were like, get your foot on it, like go, cut up the field to the corner, like then cut it across. And so we were really saying things. And after the game, he got really upset with us. And he said, I don't want you to cheer for me at all. And I was like, oh, and it really hurt to hear it. And he said, he doesn't even want us to say go Holden. And I think it was a reaction to that time that we were doing the wrong thing. So now I keep my mouth shut.
Why did it bother him? I didn't understand.
I think because he has a coach to tell him that stuff, and we're the parents, and our job is to cheer him on and to be not coaching him. Our job is to be there to say, we hope you're having fun and that you're doing something that you love, and have a great game. There are kids that are different than that. Yeah, there are kids that probably are okay with their parents being cheering more, but our kid was not. And I learned that lesson. It was really hard to hear that.
Well, I'm guilty of that with my kid, and he has told me once, Dad, don't.
Yep.
But I couldn't. I'm not as good as you. I couldn't help myself. I still cheer him on here and there, but I do it very tactically. I pick my moments. Now
that we learned our lesson, we've gotten. There are some. I mean, like he's doing tryouts right now. So like, don't get me wrong. We don't keep our mouths shut entirely, but.
I have a little game I want to play with you. I call it Spitfire, but I think other people call it different things. I'm going to ask you like a couple. I'm going to do this or that, and you can answer how you want. Okay, just like have a little fun.
All right. Nervous, but okay.
Here we go. It's not a test.
Okay.
Keyboard or notepad?
Notepad.
Cleaning up the mess or breaking up the fight?
Cleaning up the mess.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's Spitfire. There's not a reason for it. I just
Yeah, it is. I'm very bad at Spitfire, as you can tell. Okay. Kids leftovers from their plate or McDonald's?
Oh, McDonald's.
The word shit or fuck?
Both. Can I say both?
You can totally say both. Date
Yeah.
night or veg out on the sofa
Veg
alone?
out, veg out, alone. Every
Alone.
time.
Every
Alone.
time.
Oh my
All
gosh, my
right.
husband and I, like, we have a great marriage, but he wants separate beds. And like, there's a little part of me that's entertaining.
What?
That
You want separate? Are you serious?
I mean, not for, we would sneak over to each other's beds, but like the idea of like sleeping alone and having like a peaceful, like all the area to myself, I'm all about it.
Really?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, like last night he went out and he was out late. So I'm like, you're sleeping. He sleeps downstairs when he goes out late. And I
Do
had
you
the
write
whole.
about this? Do you write about this stuff on the blog as well? Like, do you put that up, like separate beds and everything, or is that something
I
you
don't know
said
that I have.
newsflash?
I would write about it. I don't know that if I have, but yeah, I don't have a problem. Sometimes I feel a little bad that he has to sleep downstairs when he goes out late. I mean, he doesn't have to. If he had a problem with it, I wouldn't make him. But
Yeah.
but it's just, he knows that I'm a horrible sleeper. I'm a total insomniac. And so he prefers not to wake me up, and I prefer not to have him wake me up, and it just works for us.
Wow, I can't imagine that separate bed. Okay, well, I have this. So there's one other thing. If you could not be, if you weren't what you are right now, this massive community, third book, very successful. I think, like people love you and rightfully so. What would you be doing if you weren't doing this?
Philanthropy, for sure. I did a lot of charity work before I had kids, and I can't, when they're out of the house, I can't wait to go back to it. And
Like
I
what
like
kind of
work,
philanthropy?
I don't know. I like working with my hands a lot. I did, like, after Katrina hit New Orleans, I went there a couple times and did a lot of rehabilitation work. I really enjoy that. So I would think something with my hands.
Is there something that nobody knows about you? You're
Not
so,
much.
you're such an open book. But is there something that no one knows about you that you could share?
Oh my
It
gosh.
doesn't have to be something deep and profound. It can be something like silly and
Anything. I mean, I'm a total goofball. I guess I don't think that always comes across on the blog.
really? Oh, it probably does.
Does
Yeah,
it? Okay.
yeah, total goofball. Absolutely.
All right. I don't have a lot of secrets like that. Like, I kind of
There's the separate beds one. That
separate
one.
beds, but we sleep in the same bed, so I'm not like just hiding anything.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I worry about what career I'm going to do after this. I guess that's new. Like,
I thought you had that figured out, that philanthropy, right? Isn't that?
but that's not a career. I mean, like, that's what I'd like to do.
Okay, so wait, so that's the question. So what?
Mhm.
Okay, philanthropy is something that you want to do, but like if you could career, like work
Career-wise, I mean, I wrote a middle grade fiction novel. I'm talking about it with my agent next week, so I think probably has a lot of problems, and I'll have to see if it's worth fixing them. But I did that during COVID, and it was really awesome and cathartic, and just something I always wanted to do. So that's new.
What's it about?
It's fantasy, and it's about an island where when people die, they don't die, they turn into an animal. So yeah, and the main character almost dies, so something happens to her.
Well, we won't reveal. If you could come back as an animal, what animal would you be?
Oh my gosh, a whale. It took me a while.
Whale?
A whale. I love humpback whales more than anything.
But would you want to be one?
Yeah, it'd be so cool. Yes, I would.
I think I'd have an issue with barnacles. I wouldn't want to do anything that has barnacles on them.
I don't like seafood. That would be a problem.
That would be a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
I should be a lion. I like meat.
Well,
What would you be?
I think the immediate thing is dog. Because,
Okay.
well, just because I need a lot of love and affection, and I've got that neediness in me, or a cheetah, because my last name is Chitayat,
Yeah.
And I've just like as a young child, it's all like, oh, you're cheetah. So I've really loved that animal. But I actually think a dog, a nice, cuddly, pampered, boring dog that's
I was
just like,
thinking about that this morning when I was putting the collar on my dog. I was thinking about like, if that was all you had to do, was you had to wear a collar, but for your whole life, you would just get to like lie on the couch and people would serve you food and like pick up your poop after you. And like, what a lovely life. And the only,
I think a cat has a better life because
You
cats
do?
because cats really don't give a fuck about you. And they're really selfish, right?
Yeah.
I mean, really, and they don't care. And you really
They
do
don't
need
ever get to go out, but they're always at home.
but they're happy, aren't they? Aren't they happy? Like dogs, you're dependent. A cat is like, give me my food.
Yeah.
And all right.
That's true. It's true. But I would like to go. I mean, at least dogs have a little bit of a social life.
They do have a social. Well, okay. So hopefully your community is hearing this right now, and the people that if there's something, I don't know how many podcasts you've done and interviews you've had, probably tons, but like here's an opportunity to say something to them.
To them. I mean, I think the one message that I want to get out there is like, you're doing a good job. Like, I mean, I know there are things that you might think you're doing wrong, but like focus on all the stuff you're doing right, because I think parents, like, it's really is like the hardest job on earth. It's so flipping hard. But we're like, if you're going with your gut and your kids are, you're raising them with a lot of love, like you're doing it right. And try not to focus on the little stuff that you do wrong, because we all do stuff wrong. Everyone is doing stuff wrong. But the big picture is that you're probably doing it right. So
that's great. Tell me something. Just to conclude, tell me where people can, because there are people who don't know you. Unbelievable, but true.
No, there's lots, way more that don't know me.
Well, where can they find you? Where can they keep up with you? Tell us again your books. Tell us your Instagram, Facebook,
Okay, sure.
anything else that I'm missing. I want them to follow you and get to know you, because you really are doing something very original and authentic, which I really, really appreciate and respect.
Thanks. Thank you. Baby Sideburns, pretty much everywhere. Baby Sideburns on Facebook, on Instagram, babysideburns.com. And then the books are I Heart My Little A-Holes, I Want My Epidural Back, and Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be A-Holes. They're all on Amazon. They're in Barnes & Noble. They're everywhere the books are sold. So maybe not garage sales yet, but
probably never.
Yeah, but I mean, come join the community. Like, if you're a parent, even men. I mean, I've only got 5% men on my page, but
one of them.
you're one of them. I know, and I always respond to the men. I'm always like, at least I like their comments, because I'm always so.
Well, we'll put that to the test, Karen, because I might.
Right.
We'll see if you're full of shit. Or if you really
right. No, I'm not full of shit. If I don't see it, I won't. But if I'm reading all the comments that day, for sure, I will always throw a like to the guys. But yeah, it's a good place for parents just to feel a little more normal.
Karen Alpert, you are fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm really happy that you were on I'm That. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that's it. Thanks for listening to I'm That podcast. Go ahead and subscribe to the show on iTunes. And if you'd like, leave a rating and review. Tune in for the next episode and see you soon.